Hi. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I'm Xochilt. For those of you who don't know me, I'm wrapping up my third year at UC San Diego as a speculative design major with a minor in theater. I have been in TEA for about a little bit over 2 years. I was the vice president of TEA UCSD for about 2 years. I've been really active in the TEA community, including being a NextGen Committee Member and running the Western events that happen in person. And I've also interned for Warner Brothers about 3 times now, going for my 4th one this summer, where a lot of my career building skills actually came from, because they make you go through workshops there. And you also might know me from the portfolio project that we're currently running. It's nice to see a lot of you. But yeah, just a second what Paul said, we know it's a scary world out there. And I know that when I started in here, it was really scary and I didn't know what to do. So we're just here to offer some guidance and just help any way we can. And with that, we're going to go into talking about, the importance of the first meeting that you have with somebody. Because first impressions are really important, and those first impressions can make or break your relationship.
Yeah. Let me just say, at some point, the video behind me is from 1980. It's Lance Burton, who has chained himself to a roller coaster track, and he is about to escape. If at any point during the next hour he doesn't look like he's going to make it, please someone yell, and I'll turn and I'll tell him to get off the track. So this is I love this video because it's so fake. It's just so 80s magic to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I guess that goes into the first topic we're going to get into, how to structure an informational meeting. So you had your initial meeting with somebody and you asked for an informational. So right now we're going to go through different questions you can ask the professional, and I will be the person asking questions and Paul will be answering. And the first question was, tell me about your background.
So look, if you ask 100 people in this industry what their background is or how they got their job, you're going to get 100 different paths, right? This industry is so cool because there's no one path, typically. I mean, yeah, some people are going to go to Art Center, some people are going to go to CalArts, SCAD, whatever, and they'll have a path. But for most of the people, it's just going to be a different thing. For me, I went to college to become a firefighter. I actually went to firefighting school and learned to be a firefighter and got my certificate. But while I was waiting for the job offer to be a firefighter, I met somebody they were rehabbing essentially this roadside attraction. And they were looking for sculptors. And I had dabbled in sculpting for a while and, just kind of as a hobby. And they were looking for people to come in like at midnight and work till 7 because the place was still open. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And so I did that and I loved it. And they liked what I did. And at the end of the job, they said, I was like 19 years old, 20 years old. And they said, okay, we have the next job now is in Daytona Beach, Florida. And we'll pay your salary. We'll pay for you to live on the beach. We'll pay for your food. And I'm going like, so what's the downside here? So I went and did the job and it was great. And they said, well, that job finished. And then their headquarters was in Los Angeles. And they said, well, if we'd love to have you join our company, but you have to come to Los Angeles. And again, I was like 19 years old. And I was like, it was kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies, loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. And so I went to live in Los Angeles. And I did that for about a year or 2 years. And then the company, unfortunately, when I was going out of business, but the owner of the company said, there's this company called WED, and they're doing this project called Epcot. And I don't know what it is, but there may be something for you. And of course, I knew what WED was because, when you're in industry, kind of who the big companies are. And I called them up, got an interview, and started working for WED at the time in January of 1980. And so that was essentially the launch of my career. So, and I started as a model maker at back in those days, back at Disney. anybody that wanted to get into creative, you had to track, you had to kind of find your way. And most of the people started in the model shop. So I started in the model shop and went into the prop department, and then eventually worked my way up to be vice president in charge of Disneyland Paris after a number of years.
That's awesome. Um, so the next question you kind of already actually touched upon, which was what did you study in school? And you mentioned that you went to school to be a firefighter. I guess follow-up question is that how has that helped you in your career now? Is there any elements from that that's helped you?
Yeah. So I'm not sure firefighting helped me much at all. But the thing about the firefighting, I went to firefighting college while I was still in high school. Okay. So I was in high school during the day. Firefighting college was at night, and it was a community college kind of thing. And the way it happened was I was living in a small town that incorporated while I was living there. So it was a very small town. So a bunch of us, we had nothing to do. We had nothing to do. And so we all became volunteer firefighters. And then the town incorporated, and which means they got money from the state to build a police department, build a fire department, build all those things. And so a lot of us, while we were in high school, went to become firefighters. A lot of them, by the way, stuck with it and became fire chiefs and had very successful careers. So I'm not sure being a firefighter helped my career here, but what it did show me was that don't follow the norm. You know, most people, you do high school and then you go to college. There's no such thing as the norm anymore. So I think if there was a lesson, a takeaway from that, it was like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to take a different path. It's okay to break the rules. It's okay, you know, that's really what that's about.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned also that you've worked for WED in Imagineering, and that you've worked for Universal Creative. So what project that you can talk about did you work on that taught you the most?
Wow, that's a great question. Every project teaches you something. I would think the first project that taught me the most was Star Tours in the Disney MGM Studios. I'm sorry, Disney Hollywood Studios. I'm going to use, by the way, I'm going to use terms that I'm familiar with from 20 years ago. So you just have to bear with me. Disney Hollywood Studios. But I know it as DMGM. So that was, I was working on Muppets with Jim Henson, Muppet Vision 3D. I was the production designer. And that project was finishing up. And Tom Fitzgerald came to me and said, hey, we're looking for a producer for Star Tours. And I was like, actually it was reversed. I was finishing up Disney MGM Studios and they were looking for a producer for Star Tours. This was before Muppets. And I was thinking like, oh, I could recommend these people. I could recommend this guy. These people would be good producers. And that's how I prepared to go into this meeting. So I go into the meeting with Tom Fitzgerald and Bob Weiss. And I said, well, these people, and they kind of looked at me like this. Like, we want you to be the producer. And it was like, when you have somebody who believes in you, believes in your ability, there is no better feeling than that. So they believed in me before I believed in me. And so I went and became the producer for Star Tours down at Florida. And I learned so much about leadership, about you have to let some things go. You have to hold on to some things and make them more important. That was the best learning experience because I was in charge. I was the creative head. And so for me, that was the biggest learning experience for me in my careers, how to be a leader and don't be the boss, right? So that's the difference. You don't want to be the boss. You want to be the leader. And people will rally around you if you're the leader. If you're the boss, people will go like, "Oh, he's just going to tell us what to do." And there's a different construct. There's a different way of dealing with people when you're the leader.
That's really good advice. And then I would personally, I'm going to take that advice as I work on my projects. Um, so I guess speaking about learning, so what project from another individual or competitor inspires you the most? What did you learn from it? How did it affect your work?
Um, that's a great question. I was just on, I think Spider-Man just had its 20th anniversary or some anniversary like a couple days ago. And I was on LinkedIn and some people were talking about it. And I remember when that project came out. And by the way, again, this industry is so small, like all of my friends worked on it. It's like, it's one of those things, right? And so that was the project that everybody looks at like, okay, that changed the dynamic, that brought media into an immersive environment. It changed the way a ride vehicle or a guest interacts with media. That had never been done before. Before, the media was the background, right? Oh, we're going to go to whatever, and then the media just reinforces that story. But Spider-Man made the media the story. And I think that's now, for the last 20 years, I think we've overdone it. Okay, that's too much of it now. Now we got to think of the next thing. But that was the first project that was like so different, so engaging. It was the media and the ride vehicle working in unison to create an environment, to create a story. And I think for me, that was the first time that had happened. And so that was one of those attractions. It was like so much like, oh my God, there is so much more we can do with this technology.
I got to ride that ride for the first time earlier this year, and so I finally got to see the hype that was about it. And it's still to this day, I think, in my top 5 rides.
Yeah, I mean, it holds together because you're so immersed in the story. You could write it over and over again, and you know how it's going to turn out. But because you're so immersed in that story, you love it. And it's I changed the pre-show, but we all have our own things. But it's such a great attraction, and the fact that a lot of my friends were responsible for it even makes it better. But now I wish I was part of it.
Okay, so jumping into our next question, if you could go back to our ages, which is about 20s, early 20s, and change something you did, what would that be and why? And can you offer yourself, I guess, at that age, any advice?
I can. So I'm an artist, right? I mean, I kind of identify myself as an artist, and so as an artist, I am somewhat of an introvert, and I wish my 20s I was more outgoing. I wish I was much more forward in networking. Um, I just because that was something I learned later in life is to be people like you, people want to like you, and I was just always a bit shy. And so if I could go back 30 years, 40 years, I would say, don't worry what people think of you. People want to like you, so go with that. And I think that's the message for everybody here is like you're coming out of college and you don't have a lot of networking, you don't have a lot of network connections. Don't worry about it. Just be yourself and people will want to like you. I mean, that's just the normal human thing. And so I wish I had understood that a little bit more. I think, look, my career has been pretty successful, so I don't know if I would change anything, but I just think I would be happier if I didn't worry so much about what people thought of me. Because at the end of the day, people really don't think about you that much, you know? Um, uh, they're always thinking about how you can help them do a job or help them finish a project. But so for me, my advice to all of you is be confident in yourself, be happy with who you are, and put that out there. Put that out there, who you are, because you're an individual and people want to like you and people want to know you. And so that's the one thing I would wish I could do differently.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you. Um, I guess, and our last questions before we wrap up this portion. So what is something you wish you knew about this industry before you entered it? And although you kind of partially just answered it right now, is there anything else?
Well, this industry is interesting in that no 2 days will be the same. You'll always have something different. So if you're a person that likes consistency, likes everything to be the same, you might want to rethink your career path, because this industry is every day is completely different. You have to embrace that. You know, there's this old saying, the only thing constant is change, and that's true. Um, this industry changes because of technology. This industry changes because of um, what the audience wants. And so we're always changing, we're always evolving. So if you're not comfortable with that, yeah, you might want to think about something different, or you might want to find your niche, like you're an illustrator that's only going to do this, or you're a writer that's only going to do this. And hey, you know, good luck, and I wish you luck, but you have to embrace change. And I think this virus has amplified that change is, you know, is a constant. And so just to learn to embrace it. Don't get so stressed about it. Learn to come to appreciate tomorrow is going to be different than today. And so that's kind of my advice with that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So that kind of wraps up the informational part of the presentation. So this is generally these are just some questions that you could be asking in informational, but you don't have to stick to these. You could add more, you can take some away. Sometimes, like, I've gotten informational where I've only gotten through 3 questions and it's been an hour, because sometimes, you know, people can go on and on, which is great. So I will type these up and send these to you all if you find these helpful later on. And just another piece of advice before an informational, make sure you check the LinkedIn of the person you're meeting with and prepare specific questions about their work. But other than that,
let me just add that if there's a bunch of questions, because I'm not seeing any questions, if there's a bunch of questions, send them to Xochi. She'll send them to me. I would be happy to answer them. Okay, it's not a problem. I know in a situation like this, lots of times people are afraid to ask a question. They don't want to expose themselves as asking a dumb question. There's no dumb questions, obviously. But if there's a question that you want to know, or something about my career or something, send them to Xochi, and then I will be happy to answer them for you.
yeah, please do, guys. Make sure you send those in. And we're going to leave some time at the end as well for Q&A. But so yeah, that was the informational meeting. And so now we're going to go a little bit more into how hiring managers work. We are going to go back to the importance of the first meeting a little bit later, though. But yeah, so we're pass it back to you, Paul.
All right, so it's depending on where you're going to try and apply for a job. They all do it different ways. Big companies like Disney and Universal have a screener. So once they get your information, once they get your portfolio or whatever you've reached out to them, you will more than likely get a call from a screener who probably doesn't work for that company, probably doesn't work for Universal or Disney, and they will ferret out your interest in the job. They won't really know about your technical skills or your hard skills. They really want to get a sense of who you are and get a sense of if they feel like you would fit into their culture. Now they'll ask you about your skills. You know, do you do Photoshop? Do you do Unity or whatever? But for the most part, they just want to get a feel if you will fit in their culture. And so the goal here is to get the next meeting. And what we're going to talk about later in the elevator pitch, the goal is always to get the next meeting. The goal is not to get the job at this point. The goal is to get the next meeting. So typically you'll get a screener and they'll talk to you. And then the next meeting will typically be with a recruiter, with the company. A lot of times because of the current situation, it will be a phone call, Skype meeting, Zoom meeting. and they'll want to get a sense, again, they want to get a sense of your soft skills. Now, when I say soft skills, that is your ability to communicate. Are you a fun person? Are you articulate? Do you, what's your personality? As opposed to your hard skills, which is I can do Photoshop, I can do Unity, I'm a good writer, I can do AutoCAD, whatever it is. So early meetings are really about, are you a good fit? The later meetings, when they bring in the actual people that you might be working with, that's when they're going to start to drill you on your hard skills. So that's the way it's probably going to work from now on. Smaller companies, they don't have screeners. They're not going to have a big HR department. So you may just be meeting with the person who you might be working for. So it's going to be a combination of soft and hard skills. At the end of the day, they want to know that you're going to fit in their organization, and they're going to want to know how you can help them. So those really are the two big deals. There's like, do you fit? Are you gonna fit in with what our culture we've already established, and how are you going to help us? So those, when you start to think about answering those questions, which we'll talk about in a minute, that's really the key.
Yeah, in just a second, I've seen the soft skills questions come up, and it definitely threw me off guard. I had an interview with a smaller company earlier this year, and I met directly with the hiring manager. And at some point, she was like, "So, what are your hobbies? What shows do you like? What movies? Are you a social person?" And she started asking a bunch of questions I just had never expected in an interview. And it definitely, like, at that point, I forgot any movies and TV shows I was watching and that I liked. So it took a little bit of an adjustment. So just watch out for that kind of stuff. But it's just be calm about it, be confident in what you like and why you like it, and be open to anything else. Be like, oh, I'm really open to these genres, or I'm really exploring, and just be open.
And at the end of the day, there's no right answer. What they want to know is, are you a rounded person? Do you have a real life? Are you well read? Are you up on current cultural references? Those kinds of things. It doesn't matter if you watch show A or show B. They don't care. What they care about is that you are able to articulate an answer, and you're able to say, I don't really watch that much TV. I prefer to read books. And let me tell you, here's some of the books I've read lately that I think you might be interested in. And that kind of interaction. By the way, anytime you get into an interview situation with an HR manager or a recruiter, make it a conversation. Don't make it one way. Try and make it a conversation, because then they will say, oh, I'm talking to a real person. This person has opinions. This person is interested in what I'm interested in. And so you start to create a connection. And most of the jobs in your career, you'll find out, the opportunities were created because you had a connection. You made a connection with somebody on the team, the hiring team. And that's really key.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, and also just I found that when going to interviews such as these as well, I've done a lot better when I've sat down with myself and been right before and been like, it is not the end of the world if this doesn't happen. I've had times where I go into interviews and I've been really uptight and nervous and stumbling over my words, and like everything's at stake. But when you're going into these interviews, like, yes, you want to be prepared and articulate and confident, but also make sure that, like, that it's okay. Like, it's some opportunities come, some opportunities go. Just don't be afraid to be yourself, and just be confident in every answer you give.
Yeah, I mean, going for a job interview is probably one of the most stressful things you'll do. And it's easy for me to tell you, just relax, just relax, because your future, your career is based on this 20-minute meeting, 30-minute meeting. And so it's, you put a lot of importance on it, which is understandable. But the more you can relax and be yourself, the better it will be for you. And it's better for the hiring manager, because then now they're a little bit they're on edge too, right? They don't know what's going to happen. So you come in confident and like, hey, let's just talk about me, and it's all going to be good. And that does leave an impression. It takes practice. I'm not going to tell you, I can't tell you, oh, just relax and then you'll relax. It takes practice. And I think some of the tips and ideas that we're going to talk in a few minutes will help. And you just want to, you really, really want to come across as a person. I want to work with you. Yeah, you don't have all the skills that I need, but man, you're a good person. I want to work with you. And I can teach you the skills. I can't teach you to be a good person, but I can teach you the skills to do this job. So, let's work together.
So a question actually just came up in the chat about what you were mentioning earlier about conversation. So the question is, how do you make it a conversation, and what kind of questions are appropriate to ask the interviewer?
Well, you want to, the appropriate questions are questions about your potential job. Tell me about the culture of your company. Tell me how does your company define success? What is success? Because what you want to say is, I'm a type A person. I believe in success. So tell me, how does your company define that? Those are all appropriate questions. Tell me, here's some not appropriate questions. Tell me about the holiday policy. Tell me about days off. Those kinds of questions are, you don't want to get into that kind of stuff in your meeting. You want to be positive. You want to show the interviewer, the hiring manager, that you're interested in their company, right? The other stuff you deal with later, but show them that you're an interest. And by the way, before you go to the interview, do some, there's a buzzer going off. Hold on. You want to do a little bit of research on the company. Go look and see what kind of press releases they've done. Learn a little bit about the culture, because in that interview, you want to ask them about that. Hey, I just saw that you're announced an international project. Tell me about that. That sounds interesting. Tell me about that. Again, you want to make it a dialogue. You don't want to make it a interviewer, ask me a question and I'll give you a response. Make it a conversation. That's key, because then in a conversation, everybody relaxes. Oh, you're interested in what we're doing? Great, let's talk about it. And it becomes more memorable for the hiring manager.
Great, thank you. Second question just came in. How do you compensate for a natural nervous stutter / excessive apologizing and other stressed reactions? Right off the bat, I do want to talk about excessive apologizing. So one thing that the president from TAUCSD, Nick Lee, the first thing he said to me, because I used to apologize a lot, was, don't say I'm sorry, say thank you. Find ways to thank people instead. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for listening. So when you're apologizing for little things like that, see where you can replace it with thank you.
That's a great tip. I had somebody that apologized a lot, and I kept saying, stop apologizing. What are you apologizing for? It comes down to rehearsing. Especially if you rehearse with a family member or somebody that you're not afraid to be embarrassed in front of, and just go do some mock interviews and have them point out whenever you do a tick or something that you think might be a problem, and have them point it out and then work through it. There's no way I can tell you how not to be nervous. You're going to feel how you feel. And it's a very going through a job interview is a very stressful thing. So the way you get through it is to rehearse and practice and know it's, as you said earlier, so she said, it's not the end of the world. You blow an interview. Okay, you blew an interview. By the way, that's not the end of it. You could still follow up with a thank you note. Hey, thanks for taking the time to meet with me. I want to really re-answer some of the questions you asked me. And by the way, that goes so far with an HR manager or recruiter. Like, hey, I had a chance to think about these answers, and these are really what I wanted to say. And that means that you care enough about the questions, that you continued to think about them. You didn't articulate the answer the way you thought you should have. So those are important things to do. And we'll talk about thank you notes a little bit later, but don't stress about it. I have some tics as well. I tend to talk really fast when I get nervous. And so I try and remember, because I know I do it. We all know what our problems are. We all know what our tics are. So there's no reason why we shouldn't think about, all right, how am I going to fix this? So like if you're like me and you talk really fast. So now what I do is I pause. And if there's a glass of water or a bottle of water, I'll take a sip, take a breath, and then I'll answer the question. So you kind of try and find these little moments or these little things that you can do to kind of compensate for what you think are your inadequacies, but don't overthink that you're inadequate in something, because it's not really that bad. I mean, you want to come across as somebody that we want to work with, right?
I'd like to second the practicing with other people. I have found practicing with my roommate, with my friends, with other people in my org has been really helpful in making me think about the questions. Because ahead of time, like if you go straight into it, it's going to be a little bit harder. But if you are doing these beforehand, you're writing down your answers, you're just thinking it through, it just helps. So once you get there, you're ready. And also, we have that Discord now, the Theme Entertainment Students Discord. If you're ever going to an interview and you need someone to practice with and you're not really sure who to ask, just ask in the chat. One of us will be more than happy to be like, yeah, we'll help you. There's always somebody on the voice chat. It's always active. Someone's willing to help. But yeah.
I think always try and remember too that the person who's interviewing you wants to like you. They want to like you. It's like they're an audience, right? So any audience wants to like the performance. Going into it, they want to like it. So keep in mind that the person that's interviewing wants to like you. So give them a reason to like you.
Great. We have one more question that came in. So about conversations. Does it help to make it conversational by asking questions throughout rather than waiting till the end where they open it up for formal questions?
That's an interesting question. It's an interesting line. You don't want to interrupt their flow. If you notice that the HR manager or the interviewer is in a flow, you don't want to just ask extraneous questions, right? If you want to ask a question, it's important to you to ask the question, then ask it at the appropriate time, whether it's at that moment or later. Again, think about it as a conversation. If you're in a conversation with a friend and that friend is going off about, oh, and then yesterday I did this and this, are you going to stop that friend in mid-sentence and say, yeah, but what about the tacos? You're not going to probably do that. So let the interviewer complete a sentence or complete a thought, and then make it a dialogue. It's like, oh, that was interesting. What about, and try and make connections. Like any dialogue, right? You want to make connections. You don't want to be like the interviewer is telling you about the culture of the company, and then you're going off on some weird tangent that just doesn't work well. It just seems odd. So you have to gauge each interviewer is different. So is this the person that's interviewing me now? Are they more conversational? Are they more reading questions off of a piece of paper? So you have to judge that. I try and make it conversational. So if they're telling me about the company policy, it's like, oh, that's great. So what you're saying is that every Friday the 13th we get off. That's really cool. Where'd that come from? That kind of conversational questioning, I think, helps. So there's no right answer to interrupt. Well, you never want to interrupt, but there's no right answer to ask questions in the middle of the interview or at the end. I tend to ask questions in the conversation. I don't wait till the end to say, that thing you said 20 minutes ago, I have a question about that. that's not really the way I would do it. I would, if you have a question about something they're saying at that point, wait till they finish their thought, ask the question, get clarification. That's the way I would do it.
All right, so one more question came in. So this one's more related to networking. After an informational interview, how do you go about asking for a job or internship opportunities?
So and we're going to talk about this in the next section, but you always want to get the next meeting. So if you meet somebody in a social situation, it's a TEA event or a slice event or wherever, you want to get the next meeting. That's the key. I find it difficult to ask for a job, right? Because what you want to do is what they're thinking, the way they think is, I'm talking to this person. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so if you ask them, well, can I have a job? They're thinking, well, that's not for me. But if you say, hey, I heard about your projects that you guys are doing. It's awesome. It's really cool. I've always admired your company. I have these skills, and so I can help you do this project. Now you haven't asked for a job, but you have. You've actually thought about, hey, I'm here to help you. So stop. I'm here to help you. So let's talk about it. How can I help you? And it's a different construct than say, hey, can I get a job? You're saying, hey, I have these skills that you guys need. I'm available. Let's talk. That's kind of the way you want to do it, right? Because if you just go like, hey, I just graduated from school and I need a job, your resume will fall into the thousands of others. But if you think about, I just graduated from college and I have been trained on the latest cutting edge technology, the latest whatever, I can help you do what you need to do. Now it's a different thing, right? Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. This person who just graduated from college can help me. They're not looking for a job. They're looking to help me. And so that's a different kind of mindset.
Yep, and I definitely agree with that. And hey, also, when you go to different events, like for example, ASTM, make sure you're volunteering for stuff too, and like showing that you want to help. So not only are you offering your skills, but you're saying this is how I can apply my skills, or I can help you with these other things as well, and showing your interest.
Yeah.
So they'll ask for volunteers, especially at those events, and I'm sure of others too that I don't know off the top of my head, but actually, that makes a great transition to one of our next sections, which is elevator pitches.
So think of the elevator pitch as your calling card. So nobody knows who you are, and you want to make a great first impression, right? So that's what your elevator pitch does. And we kind of, over the years, we thought, well, elevator pitch means it's my 30-second, 1-minute introduction to what I can do. And it is. But more importantly, it's your calling card. It's your first impression to colleagues, to hiring managers, to friends, whatever it is. This is your first impression. So how are we going to make a great first impression, particularly when you're looking to start a career and you want to get a job? And so it's really important to kind of nail your elevator pitch. And there's some tips and there's some techniques. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it. In my opinion, things that work, things that don't work, and things that you really should think about. And when you create your elevator pitch, there's no one elevator pitch, right? There's you got the 30-second version, you got the minute version, you got the 3-minute slice skib gab version, and you know it's really about what you've got a limited amount of time. What do you want to say? What's important for the audience, person hearing it? What's important for them to hear? And so let's talk about it.
Yeah, great. And I guess by a little too bit on elevator pitches, adding on, yeah, you're going to have different ones, and your elevator pitch should change depending on who you're talking to. But it's always a really good idea to practice them, especially before going to an event. For example, Gib Gab. Gib Gab mostly takes place on the in Western Division. Gib Gab always takes place in Los Angeles. And I'm from San Diego, along with my club. So we spend the whole 2 hours, hopefully 2 hours, most of the time a lot longer, car ride, driving up, practicing our elevator pitches with each other in the car. We make each other take turns, and we give notes, and it just really helps us. So by the time we step out of that car, we're primed and we're ready to go through those 3-minute interviews.
Yeah. So I put a presentation together several years ago about putting how to craft an elevator pitch. And so I'd like to share that with you now. And it's rather short. It's like 20 slides. And I think there's some good stuff here. And let's go through that. And then at the end, if you have any questions, let's talk about it. And I'm going to endeavor to share my screen. Let's see what happens. I've never shared a screen on Zoom before. Oh, now it's asking for permission. Okay, hold on. This is gonna be fine. We're all gonna be good. Okay, I think I've given it all the permissions it wants. Oh, there we go. Look at this magic. Is it sharing?
Yes.
All right, here we go. So in the beginning, there was this guy who had so much potential, and we don't know what happened to him. But the purpose of this is to show you that no matter what career path you think you're going to take, it's not what's going to happen. So don't worry so much about it. This was me about 40 years ago. This is for Tokyo Disneyland. And I like to say that this is, that back then my hair was like Pinocchio and now my hair is like Geppetto. So, so no matter what you do, don't worry about it. You'll find your own career and you'll have a great time doing it. All right, so let's get into it. So what is the elevator pitch? Well, again, it's your calling card. It's your introduction that you're going to prepare when, no matter where you are, social situation, a business meeting, that you're going to be able to whip out and say, this is who I am, this is what I do. All right. So a lot of times we think about it being a 30-second to 2-minute thing, but as you mentioned, Gib Gab makes it it's a 3-minute thing. So it's really it's kind of crafting something that you can keep in your head, and you can expand on it, you can contract it depending on the situation. You know, some elevator pitches are like 15 seconds. You got like 15 seconds. You're meeting somebody in a hallway at a convention, and you go like, "Hey, I'm Paul. I'm show producer working for whatever. I'd like to find time to talk to you some more." That is an elevator pitch. Elevator pitches are always about getting the next meeting. Okay, no one's going to hire you on an elevator pitch. What they're going to do is they're going to be interested in you. Oh, I want to learn more about this person. Let's set up another meeting. So it's always about the next meeting. By the way, are these slides showing okay? I don't know. I can't tell.
Yep, they're coming up perfect.
Great. Okay. So the first step, you've got to get a piece of paper, and I use a big red pen. I learned that from Marty Sklar. Use a big red pen. Write down your goals. Write down everything that somebody needs to know about you. Okay? What are your skills? What have you done? What's your work experiences? Specifically, what's relevant to what the position you're going after. And so any good elevator pitch needs to answer, who are you? What do you do? And what are you looking for? Those 3 questions need to be answered. Okay. So get a piece of paper, write down your goals, write them down. Don't be afraid of saying, oh, my elevator pitch is not this. That's not the goal here. The goal is just write your goals down. Be as, write as much as you need to write, but get them out of your head and put them on a piece of paper, right? Now you're going to start crossing stuff off. So again, you're going to take your red pen and you're going to start editing down. You're going to take all this extraneous stuff out that, well, I really want to change the world. Yeah, okay, everybody wants to change the world. Take that out, okay? So now you've got to get it down to really what the important parts are. And so editing is one of the hardest parts of any job. Even when you're designing a theme park, it's to like, oh, well, we got all this cool stuff. Yeah, but all this cool stuff, is it important? Well, not really, but it's cool. So editing is hard. You've got to like try and get to the core of what you're about, what you're saying. Excuse me. If the pollen here in Beijing, it's not pollution. I promise you, it's not pollution. So now you've crossed all this stuff out, and you said, now you've got this. This is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what I want. Now you have to tune your station to WIFM, and you have to tailor your pitch to them. It's not you. You have to think about it being for them. And so WIFM means what's in it for me. Because any recruiting person, any hiring manager, all they're thinking about is, okay, what's in it for me? How are you going to help me do what I need to do, right? So that's how you have to tailor your pitch. So using benefit-focused terminology like I can do things under budget, I've never missed a schedule, those kinds of things are cool, but at the same time, try to avoid using specific theme park or museum terminology. A lot of times, these first phone screeners really aren't in our business. They're HR people. So telling them that I wrote all the 101 guidelines, they're not going to know what that is. So try to avoid that kind of industry jargon, because that doesn't really help. All right, so let me get caught up here. So now you have to format it. Now, here's a little example of WIFM. Now, the traditional elevator speech should be about 30 seconds. That's typical, where you're in a social situation. Someone introduces you to, Bob Weiss, the head of Imagineering. So you got like 30 seconds of this social interaction. The first 15 seconds should be about you. This is who I am. And then the next 15 seconds are about how I can help you. Okay? So you want to, by the way, a good rule of thumb is you can say about 75 words in 30 seconds. So if you're going to say, I'm going to make a 30-second elevator pitch, then I'm going to try and keep it around 75 words. Maybe you're a fast talker, maybe you're a slow talker. But think about that. Record it on your computer, record it on your little tape recorder, whatever, and listen to it. See how it sounds. Again, you want to make it easy for people to understand. So eliminate some industry jargon. Avoid using acronyms or tech speak. The average interviewer is not going to understand that. And the last thing you want to do is make your interviewer seem like they're stupid because they don't get it. So you don't want to make the interviewer seem dumb because they don't understand what you're talking about. Okay? So next, be proud, say it loud. Okay. So the biggest problem that I hear with elevator pitches is that the way we write and the way we speak are completely different things, right? So now you've written out this thing, this beautiful tome of who you are, but if you read it, it would sound like an infomercial, right? So you want to take the concept, the notion of what you wrote, and now you want to say the words. So now you have to put what you wrote into a speech and make it sound natural. You know, again, you just don't want to sound like an automaton speaking off of a sheet of paper, because that won't sound natural. And really what you want to do is you want to sound natural as you can. So simplify it. Maybe some of the words need to be changed because the way you speak is not the way you write again. So change some of the words to be more conversational. Hey, I'm this, I'm that. Okay. Now, here's the hard part. You want to practice, practice, practice. You got to rehearse it in front of a mirror. I hate doing this, by the way. I cannot stand practicing anything. Like if like I'm going to do a pitch, an attraction pitch to somebody higher up, I rarely rehearse it. I just feel like I'm more natural just coming off of it clean. But here's the difference. I know the pitch inside and out. I know every single thing about the attraction. I can answer any question about it. So I'm okay not rehearsing because I've already rehearsed in my head what the important parts are. So if you're not comfortable standing in front of a mirror or rehearsing with a friend, that's okay, but you got to work it out in your head how you're going to deliver this thing, okay? How am I going to deliver it? What words am I going to focus on? Where am I going to pause my sentence for more impactful meaning? All of these things you want to think about because you're pitching, you're selling yourself. So you want to be able to make sure the audience, the HR manager understands what's important. And so you can do that with your voice, with inflection, how you say it, how you present what you're saying. All right. Now, mix it up. There is no one, I think Xochilt said earlier, there is no one elevator pitch. You have to have different versions of it. It's depending on who you're talking to. Again, if you're talking to a phone screener, they're going to want to know you're a good person and you can get along with people and you're not a disruptor and all of that stuff. So you might want to think about, well, I was part of my team in college and I was the team leader and I was able to bring everybody together and we all marched forward with a single idea, and they may want to hear that. If you're talking to the head of the department, you may want to say, yeah, I'm really great at Photoshop. I'm really good at After Effects or whatever it is. They're going to be more interested in what your skills are, less about how you're going to mesh with the team. But there's always going to be a balance. So the idea here is that you're going to have different versions. By the way, you're going to have a 30-second version. You're going to have a 3-minute version, just because you're going to do gib gabs and slice networks and all that stuff. So have different versions that say the same thing. Again, who you are and what your skills are and how you can help. Those are the things that are important. Okay. Okay. So you've created this great pitch, this great oratory thing, and it's like awesome. They should be giving you Oscars. But if you don't deliver it well, if you're nervous and you're stumbling over words, it's just going to fall flat. So try and relax, take a breath, deliver it with confidence. Hey, be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you've done in your career. Your career may be short. You're coming out of school, but you've done a lot of cool stuff. So be proud of it, right? Be sure to, if you've been introduced to the person, be sure to say their name. Look them in the eye, shake their hand. Again, most of these jobs are going to come to you because there's a connection with the person. There's a connection with the personality, not so much about your skill set. So you want to create a great connection. So again, shake their hand, recognize them. If you're in a room that they enter because you're waiting for them to come, stand up. Show them some respect. Stand up. Hi, I'm Paul Osterhout. Nice to meet you. Thank you for taking time today. Then deliver with confidence. But the most important thing here is you want to be able to relax and just feel comfortable, because you've already rehearsed it 1,000 times. You know what you're going to say, so you don't have to worry about I'm stumbling for the words. You know what the words are going to be. So just relax and deliver it. Okay. This one's important. If you have made a connection with somebody, let's say you're in a social situation and you're maybe at a TEA event or you're at IAPA and you're talking to people and you've already made a connection to somebody, throw out your pitch. Throw it out. You don't need it. You've already made a connection. Just be conversational. Tell the person, hey, this is what I do. Can I give you my card? I'm really interested in your company, and I think I could really add some value. And so don't be afraid to throw it out if you've already made a connection with somebody. If you've made a connection with somebody and then you go into your cold pitch, it sounds so fake. It sounds so fake, and then that person's just going to get turned off. So they're going to go like, "Wow, I thought we were making a connection earlier. What happened?" So just throw it out and be conversational. You know what you have to say. You know the words, the things that you want to leave behind. So, and the other thing is, when you're making it conversational, show some curiosity about them. It's not always about you. It's like, hey, Bob, congratulations on being named president of Imagineering. Tell me, tell me tell me what you think are really important skills to get to where you are. What things did you think about when you were building your career? Again, make it conversational, because if they start thinking like, wow, this person's interested in me, again, you're making this personal connection, and most of these jobs are going to come out, you're going to get because of the personal connection. Okay. And remember, the goal here is not to get the job. You're not going to get the job on the floor of IAPA. You're not going to get a job at a TEA mixer. What you are going to get is get that next meeting. And that next meeting is the important one, because now you're going to go one-on-one and you're going to be able to talk about really who you are and what your skills are. Okay, so we talked a little bit about slice and about gib gabs, and these are interesting things because they're different. They're not one-on-ones. You're going to go into a room with maybe 30 or 40 people all looking for the same thing you're looking for. And a lot of times, if you're coming out of a design school or college, you may be with 20 or 30 people that you were just in class with, and you're all going to interview for the same kind of jobs, right? So and the elevator pitch is this very structured thing. You've got 2 minutes, you've got 3 minutes, and we're going to kick you out. So you have to kind of be prepared for what that is. But the goal is the same. Get the next meeting. That's always going to be the goal. So here's my suggestions on these kind of things. Gather some intel. Who's going to be interviewing you? Slice or GibGab will usually send out a notice of who's there, what companies are going to be there. So get some intel. Are they going to be HR recruiters, hiring managers? Maybe they're colleagues or people that just work in the group that they got tapped to be the interviewer. So do a little bit of research, figure out who's you're going to be talking to, and then you'll know how long you have to present yourself. So you're going to be able to set your elevator pitch to that time. Here's something that I find interesting that people don't do, and I've done a lot of these slice and a lot of these gib gabs. They don't, as a person who's looking for a job, they don't come in and look at how the room is set up or how it's structured. And for me, I would do that. I would I would try and get there early and go like, okay, there's like 18 tables and 4 of the tables are in the next room. So that's going to take a little longer. Oh my God, this person is sitting, his back is to the window. That means if I'm showing my portfolio on an iPad, I got to be careful that doesn't reflection. Oh my God, each table has a downlight. Okay, don't lay your iPad flat. All of these things, I'm thinking about how am I going to make my 3 minutes the best 3 minutes, right? So I'm crafting, I'm making a strategy of how I'm going to do these 3 minutes times 18 times, right? So think about that. And think about who else is going to be there. Who's your competition? It's going to be classmates, probably. It's going to be an open call, maybe furloughed prisoners. Who knows? But think about who your competition is, and now you know it's. Think of it as a sporting event. You got to think about your competition. Yeah, of course they're your friends, but you're got to look out for yourself. So how am I going to set myself apart from the 30 other people who just graduated me out of the same class, right? How am I going to feel different? So, by the way, think about because you don't have a breadth of history of work, think about your skills and less about your assignments. Um, one of the gib gabs I did back in Orlando when we had a bunch of SCAD students come down, and it was a busload, and they all presented the same class project. And it was like, okay, yeah, I've seen this already. So don't think about the assignment. Think about your skills. Think about what you added to the project. Don't ignore it. Hey, I did this project. I'm very proud of it. But what did I do? What did you contribute to this project is more important than, well, look at this project we did. Because, okay, fine. But I want to know more about what you did to the project. So now, before we go, we're going to prepare. We're going to update our portfolio. We're going to update our contact information. We make sure everything's correct. Again, make sure you understand what the hiring manager, what are they looking for? They're looking for a writer, looking for a designer, looking for a ride engineer. Think about what they're looking for. And again, you want to set your presentation to WIFM. What's in it for me? So you know what they're looking for. And by the way, this table at Universal, and this table at Disney, and this table at SeaWorld, and this table at Brian Morrow, they're all looking for different things. So you may have to craft 4 or 5 different presentations. That's it. That's the way it goes. So just think about how you're going to get them to sit up and notice you. And again, you want to differentiate yourself. Seeing a portfolio that 30 other people are showing the same thing, it's not going to set you apart. What's going to set you apart is, we did this project. You probably already saw it before with other people, but let me tell you what I did for this project. I was the team lead on this part of it, and I was able to, get the students. It was really difficult because, students are all doing other things. So I was able to gather them together. I was able to get them to focus. Those are the kinds of things that a hiring manager or somebody like me wants to know. That, oh, you're able to get all these people who are very busy and focused. That's I'm going to remember that. So think about how you're going to set yourself apart. And now you're going to be in the moment. You want to look professional. You want to, when you approach a table, you want to introduce yourself, be polite, shake their hands, look them in the eyes, introduce yourself. Excuse me, I didn't get your name. Hi, Stanley. Pleasure to meet you. Do not pull a portfolio out of your backpack and put it on the table. It looks bad. And I've had so many people do that. It's like, have a folder, nicely printed, pull it out of the folder. It's your calling card. You want it to be as professional as you want to be. So really think about your leave behind materials as being precious. Here's this piece of paper. Everything on this piece of paper is everything I've done. I'm very proud of it. Let me give it to you. All right. Again, if you're a college grad, you don't have a lot of a portfolio to put out there of projects you did. So focus on your skills, not on the assignment. Think about what you're leaving behind. Is it a card? Is it a portfolio? Is it what are you going to give me so I can, when I go back to my office tomorrow, I've just saw 30 people. How am I going to remember you? So think about what you're leaving behind. By the way, if it's a bottle of vodka, that's probably okay, but probably not appropriate. So now you've done your thing, you've done your presentation, you've had your 3 minutes in the sun. Now what? Now what are you going to do? Well, you're going to follow up, right? You're going to hey, we met at GibGab, we met at Slice. Just following up. If there's any questions that I didn't answer, we only had 3 minutes. I would love to talk further with you about the opportunities. Those are the kinds of things you want to follow up on. So you should probably give it a week. I would say a week is a good amount of time. Because they're going to get back to their office. They're going to be busy with their own work. They're going to need time to digest it. So a week is about a good amount of time. You want to, depending on how you've hit it off with them, they may say, well, we don't have anything right now. You may want to say, well, great. When should I check back with you? And if they say, well, things come up every now and then, maybe it's every week, maybe it's every 2 weeks. You have to kind of judge that. By the way, you don't want to be the creepy stalker, but you want to show interest in, hey, I love your company. I want to work for your company. You don't want to just say, well, that was 3 minutes, so I guess I'll never talk to you guys again. No, but you guys want it. You want it. So show them that you want to work for their company. I always think a thank you note is appropriate. In the olden days, a handwritten thank you note would be more appropriate. I understand now that's not the real world. Email is probably the way to go. But don't just do a plain thanks for meeting with me. Let me know if anything's coming up. Put in your thank you note something of importance. In that, hey, I thought about one of the questions you asked me, and I don't think I answered it fully. Here's what I really meant to say. Oh, by the way, thank you for meeting with me. Or, hey, I just saw in the press release that your company's just patented this new ride technology. That's so cool. Congratulations. I just wanted to follow up with you. So if you write a thank you note, put something of importance to it. Give a reason for the thank you note. Obviously, the reason is you want them to remember you, but give them a reason to say, oh, now I want to respond to what you're saying. So think about making your thank you note have importance to it, okay? Okay, you did it. Now what? Now what? Now you got the second job. You got the second interview. Oh my God, congratulations. You've succeeded. But now what? Now what are you going to do? Well, do the research on the company and the interviewer. Looked at LinkedIn, do some research on the company. What have they done any press releases? And by the way, do not be a stalker. Do not go to a hiring manager's LinkedIn and look at it every day, because they can tell you've looked at it every day. Look at it one time. They'll appreciate it. You're doing your homework. So you have to walk this line of being a creepy stalker and finding out information, right? Prepare answers to stock questions. This is so important. Every interviewer in the world will ask you this question. So tell me a moment where you had a tough time and how did you solve that problem? They will ask you some version of that question, okay? So they're going to ask you, so start thinking about it now. Get your answer prepared now. Now, when they ask that question, don't just jump in with the answer. Think about it like, oh, that's an interesting question. There was this one time, and then go into your story, okay? So you want to be prepared, but you don't want them to know you knew this question was coming. Another question is, how much money do you think you would need to come here? You want to try to avoid that question. You want them to try and make the first offer, okay? Because you don't know where they are in the salary range, and you don't want to ask for too much and have them shut down. You don't want to ask for too little and hurt yourself. So think about how you're going to answer that question. It's like, well, for me, money's not really money's not driving me. What drives me is I want to work for your company. I want to learn your company. I want to help you succeed in the goals that you have set forth in your company. And this is called question and response. And this is something you will learn as you go in your career. People assume you have to answer a question. And you don't have to answer a question. You have to respond to a question. But you don't have to give an answer. And by the way, politicians are perfect at this. Watch any politician, if they get a question, and see if they actually answer the question. And 95% of the time, it's like they're not answering the question. They're responding. So you have to do the same thing. Find a way to respond to questions that you don't want to answer. Difficult questions like, how much money do you want to make? Because it's really not, you can't answer that because you don't know what the range is. So figure out a way to respond to questions and not answer them. Again, practice with a friend. Find a friend who's very tough and they'll be honest with you. Look alive. When you go into an interview, don't slouch in the chair, sit up straight, keep your eyes open, don't yawn, look alive. You want to be, you want to work for them, act professionally. If guys or both women and men, think about the culture of the company you're interviewing with. If they wear suits and ties, show up in a suit and tie. If they're casual, if it's artistic kind of company, wear a blazer. It's okay to dress up a little bit. It's just look professional. Again, make it a two-way conversation, and relax. Be yourself. Just relax. This is not going to be the first or last interview you're ever going to do. So just try and relax. You're prepared. You've prepared as much as you can prepare. So the only thing you can do now is relax and be yourself and give the information. So now that's it. Now go prepare. Go write your elevator pitch. Go figure out what questions HR people are going to ask 100% of the time, and good luck.
Great, thank you. That was really helpful. I was definitely taking notes throughout it. I do want to back up 2 points that you made. First of all, about making sure if you work on a project with multiple people and you're going to a Give Gab or Slice networking event, do make sure you are specifying your role and specifying what you did. I went to a Give Gab earlier this year, and I got to a table and it was like, hey, I started talking to myself and I said, by the way, I also worked on this project for a couple of years. I started off as in this position, and then I moved to this position. This is the specific stuff I do. And after I finished my spiel, they looked at me and they said, we've heard other people from your project come through, and they all came through and they all said the same thing. You're the only one who specified what you did. And that kind of not only had a negative effect on the people themselves who said that, but it had a negative effect on our project as well. So make sure when you are talking about your work and your projects, you're being mindful of what you did specifically and the people around you, and how the way you talk about these projects can affect other people. And then, go ahead.
And if by the way, if you show me your portfolio at one of these events, I'm going to ask you questions about it. I'm going to say, oh, that's a great picture. What did you do? Did you draw this picture? Did you influence? And they'll say, no, well, no, I did the estimating. It's like, well, then why are you showing me this picture? It's it's, be honest about it. And because you will get found out. Don't ever lie on a portfolio or a resume. This industry is so small. Everybody knows what everybody does. So don't ever do that, because that will be the first red flag of, we can't hire this person. They're not truthful. So.
That goes into another story that a colleague was telling me about, how she was interviewing someone and they were like, yeah, I'm a graphic designer, and pulled out her work, and she actually pulled out my colleague's work and said it was her own. So you will get caught.
You will get caught, no doubt.
And then I did want to second the holding your portfolios, black folders. This one's specifically not from my school. It's actually from WB, but your schools and your bookstores will sell these really nice black folders that are nicer than these, have like little gold trimmings, and has your school logo on it. It's a great material, a lot of good room, and usually is under $20. And I highly recommend you have those. You just look 10 times more professional. And it's also a lot easier, because if, like, say you're at Give Gab, and for those of you who don't know what Give Gab is, that's when you interview with 17 companies. You get 3 minutes with each company and you table hop. It is very hard to try to table hop when you're holding a bag and you're holding the business cards and stuff in your resumes in your hand, and it's very difficult. But having one of these, very easy to organize. As you see, it's still full from my last Give Gab. I have flyers I got, I have my resume, and I have a little pocket for business cards of mine and business cards I received. And also a little notepad hidden in the back too. Makes it very easy.
No, that's great. So many people, you have 3 minutes, and I have so many people come to the table, and the first 30, 40 seconds, they're trying to bring up their iPad. Like, I have my portfolio here somewhere. And it's like, it's your time, baby. It's your time. It's like, I feel bad, because be prepared. Just if you're going to keep your portfolio on your iPad or on a cloud, have it connected. Have it all ready to go. So when you sit down, it's ready to go. And by the way, another thing about Give, Gab, and Slice that's interesting is that a lot of times they're followed by a social thing. Like, they do the Give, Gab, and then at the end of the day, at the end of the evening, people like mill around and just talk. I encourage you to stay after. And then the interviewers are like more relaxed. They don't have, because as an interviewer, oh my God, I got 3 minutes. I got to ask these questions. I got to try and focus on this person. Now, at the end of it, I'm now relaxed. And then you can come up to me and say, hey, thanks for taking the time to interview me. I don't think I answered that one question you asked very succinctly. Can I get another shot at it? And for me, I'm like, yeah, of course. And then so now we've created a connection. You've told me you're concerned about how you answer things. You're a concerned person. So without even knowing it, you've kind of pushed yourself to the top of the pile, because now, oh, this is this person is concerned and is thoughtful, and I want to know more about this person. So if you can, if you can, stay after, be part of the social part of it, and don't be the person who comes up and does the whole interview again, because you know what? At the end of it, I'm tired and I just want to just relax. But if you come up to me and say, I just want to tell you, I didn't really say what I meant to say and that's it, then I'm good with that. But if you come to me and give me the whole pitch again, I might turn that off a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely want to second that. I have stuck around at Give Gabs, and it has been immensely helpful. It's a great way to talk to people and just be like, hey, thanks again for talking with me. I'd love to talk with you more. And if I didn't have that time to initiate that at the table, initiate it after. And it's also time to touch base with people, touch base with other students as well. So if you haven't talked to students in a while, it's always good. Please network with your students. And also, maybe a recruiter will chase you down. I've had the last Give Gab I was at, I happened to stick around and someone was like, oh, I was looking for you. Here's my card. Please make sure you email me afterwards. So people do remember you in these 3 minutes. If you stand out, they're going to remember you and they're going to look for you afterwards. So definitely stick around.
Yeah. Yeah. As much we call FaceTime, as much FaceTime as you can get with recruiters or people in the industry, it really does benefit you. If you go to a TEA event or a Slice event or a IAPA event, the more that they see your face and get to know you, the more they're comfortable, and then the more they want to know about you, and it will help you land that job.
Jake, how are we doing on time?
I think we were way over.
Yeah, we're definitely over. So we can probably take 1 or 2 questions. And then if there's any other questions, we can email them into Xochi, if you want to just put your email in the chat there. Mm-hmm. And you can always post them in the Discord and whatnot too.
I'm sorry. Once I get started, I just go on and on. I apologize.
No worries. Were there any questions anybody was hoping to ask? You can just unmute yourself and ask it.
I have some. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I see a question. Can you describe what you look for when I'm looking through someone, when I'm looking for to hire somebody? I'm less interested in all of your skills. I want to find somebody that wants to learn, that is not so full of themselves, that thinks, oh, I know everything already. I want somebody that's energetic and enthusiastic. And if I said, I need you to do this, they're like, okay, I'm jumping in with 2 hands, 2 feet, and I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. That's the kind of people I want to work with, right? Just think about when you're in college and you're putting a group together. Who do you want to work with? You want to work with the guy that can illustrate, or the person that's a great writer? Yeah, maybe. But I would rather have the person that's like, I'll go do that. Whatever you need, I'm there. And that's the kind of person that I like to surround myself with. I can teach you how to design theme park attractions. I can't teach you to be positive. I can't teach you to be aggressive. I can't teach you to be a good person. Those things are unteachable for me. But if you are those things, then I want to work with you.
All right, awesome. I think Mary has a question with her hand raised. If you want to unmute and ask it, Mary.
Hi. Yeah, I did have a question about sort of how to market yourself to interviewers and potential people who might want to hire you, which is I have sort of a bunch of different skills that I'm trying to cultivate. And so I could end up working at this point in any number of different areas, but I've been wondering, how do I convey that in interviews and in like hiring sessions without sounding like I'm completely all over the place?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I would do is, first thing I would do if I was you, I would write down your dream job. What is your dream job? Write it down. I want to be a writer. I want to, I don't know your skill set. I don't know what you're doing, but write down your dream job and kind of think like your first job is not going to be your last job. So you might want to think about, okay, I have all these interests and I have all these skills. So I want to start my career with maybe one, and then I'm going to slowly build all of this other stuff in at a time that's appropriate. That's kind of the approach I would take, because I mean I have lots of different varied interests too. So you try and write your dream job down. Write it down on paper. If you could invent your job, what would it be? And I think you will be surprised that your dream job is out there. It may not be with a big company like Disney or Universal, because they really want specialized people, right? They want, okay, you're going to be a roller coaster engineer. You're going to write stuff here. You're going to illustrate this stuff. But smaller companies are looking for, as the French say, polyvalent. Polyvalent means you wear many different hats. So smaller companies are probably where you probably want to look. If you really need to scratch the itch of doing all of these things, then perhaps a smaller company is the where to look. But if you can do lots of different things and you have interest in lots of different things, don't think of it as a negative. Think of it as an asset. And I would probably lead with that. I wouldn't apologize for that. I would say, hey, I am skilled in all of these things. So if you hire me, you can put me wherever you want and I'll do it. And the next day, if you need me over here, I'm happy to do that. So think about your skill set as a positive and not something that's negative. But keep in mind that companies like Universal and Disney are looking for specific things. It's just the way it is.
Awesome. Go for it.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, good. You can't hear. In informationals I've had and some interviews I've had, there are people who have asked me, what is the one thing you can do? So do be careful and like wary of that question. It will come up, and I'm like the same way. I have various skills, and I have a wide skill set, and I feel like I can apply that to many different things, but it's not something people have enjoyed hearing in the past. So it's all about how you word it. So obviously I didn't word it correctly, but just how you word it.
Yeah, again, the bigger companies, they're looking, they have a job description and they're looking for buzzwords or industry words that match that job description. They don't typically think outside the box. Smaller companies think outside the box. So if you have I could do 1,000 things. Well, that's great. I need you to do one. So, and that's the bigger companies. But smaller companies going like, you can do that too? Oh, you can make models? Oh, you can do Photoshop? Oh, you can change the paper in the copier? It's like yes, that's the kind of person we need in a small company, because we can't hire all these specialized people. So it's really, don't look at it as a negative. Look at it as like, hey, I can do all these things.
Cool. We will take one last question from Alec.
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I really, really appreciated it. One question I had, this is a little bit more about your history in the industry and stuff that you've learned. I guess since you've worked at all these different companies, I'd love to know your experiences of the different kind of cultural and creative processes that each of them offered, and what you liked about which one, what you learned from them, just kind of about how they differed, including your current company as well.
Sure. That's a good question. So Disney and Universal from me in the last 20 years has made a transformation to be more like Disney. Disney is, everybody's a specialist. So you go into a room about a project and there'd be 40 people in the room, like a meeting, like, why are all these people here? Because this person does this person does this, and it's all specialists. Disney has a sense of like, we're all family, we're a family here. And that's true until they don't need you anymore, then that's not true. But it's a very nurturing environment, very inclusive. Universal is much more of the old Hollywood studio system where we're hiring you for this project, and at the end of the project, if we don't need you, yeah, good luck. Now, as I said, Universal is changing because now they're starting to figure out that having people think of it as a career keeps the really good people on board. And so they're really similar that way. The processes for Disney and Universal are really similar. I mean, you go through the same process. You go through concept design, then you go through design development, schematic development, and then you go through production. They're the same process, little differences, but it's the same process. Smaller companies are, like I had my own company for a while. You're always looking for work. It seems like you never do the work. You're always looking for work. And that's why I didn't like being in a small company, because I want to do the work. I don't want to be a business development person looking for work. The company I'm in now is interesting. It's a Chinese company. We have several clients, but our big client has grand plans to be the next Disney in China. We're going to do 15 Disneyland-sized theme parks in China in the next few years, and I am responsible for all the creative of it. So it's really a different kind of whole different experience. In China, the theme park industry is really infant. There's really you can't go like, oh, let's go find some people that know how to design theme park rides. There aren't any. So we're using a lot of Western companies to help us design this. When I worked for Electronic Arts doing video games, probably one of the most dysfunctional companies I've ever worked for. It's like they were kind of they weren't new, but they're always kind of reinventing themselves. And when you have 5,000 people in the company, that's difficult to do. When you have 5 people in the company, it's a little easier. But it was kind of like this weird dysfunctional, they didn't know what to do. So that was a bit frustrating. Don't be afraid of going to a smaller company, especially coming right out of school. To get hired at Disney or Universal is really, first of all, it's a difficult proposition because everybody wants to go there, right? So you have so many people want to go there. Unless you're a rock star illustrator or designer. But also keep in mind that when the projects happen, when they turn on a project, they're looking to hire people. So, Universal, unfortunately for the virus, but they were building up for their new park that's happening in Orlando. So that would be a perfect opportunity to put your resume and say, hey, I'm available. Now the next 3 months, 6 months, probably more difficult. Same with Disney. They're putting a lot of their stuff on hold because they've been out of business for 3 months, right? So they got to kind of bring themselves back up out of that. The process, once you get sitting at your desk, the process is the same, whether it's a big company or a small company. It's just bigger companies have a lot more layers of approvals, and so it's a lot more political. So you have to kind of learn how to navigate the political environment, which is not a good thing necessarily, because everybody wants to show their value, right? So this middle manager has to say something about your project, because if he doesn't, why is he here? So it becomes a little bit more frustrating in a bigger company. But the reward is bigger too, because you've got the budgets and you've got the prestige of Disney behind it. And so, it's a trade-off.
Thank you.
I
Okay,
think go for it, Xochi. Yeah.
Before we close out, I do want to give you guys a piece of advice from student to student. Since the pandemic started, we all do have a lot more time on our hands, and so do a lot of professionals. Now is the time to start asking for informationals, to reach out to people or check in with professionals you already have connected with, check in and see how they're doing. Yeah, now more than ever, have these conversations, still network. Like I think I'm more connected now that we're online than I was in person, just because people are so much more willing to talk. We have the group chats that started up. We have the projects that have been started up. Take advantage of it. And if you are asking someone for an informational, the worst they can say is no. As long as your LinkedIn message or your email, that's where it's going to come in. Hi, my name is, like mine is usually, hi, my name is Xochilt and I'm a third-year student at UC San Diego. I'm really interested in, I'm trying to think, sorry, current recent one, I'm really interested in interactive experiences and ride design. And I saw you worked on the Men in Black alien attack. I actually attended your webinar about it to celebrate the 20th anniversary. Would you have any time to speak with me about it? I'd love to chat whenever you have time. That's all you need. On LinkedIn, although if you're doing an email, make it a little bit longer, a little bit more formal. And the worst they can say is no. I've met with so many people who are just looking for things to do, and it's a great opportunity. And meet with other students as well. Like if you see a student who's had an internship you want, who's worked on projects you want to do, have that informational, ask them for help. I can't speak for all students, but I'm pretty sure that I think a lot of you can agree with me. We're happy to help with however we can. I'm happy to help however I can. If you guys need anything, I'm an available resource. I think my email's in the chat. I hope my Zoom froze. But email me, find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or on the Discord. Happy to help, and I'm sure that others would say the same. So just take advantage of that. Stay connected with people. Keep going to TEA mixers, look into Slice, go to those mixers, keep going to these summer skills sessions, and look out for other themed entertainment events, such as Patrick Kling. Every 2 weeks or so, he hosts something. He's actually hosting something with Paul later tonight. Go to those things, go to other TEA GBMs, just be connected as much as you can.
Yeah, I have not come across anybody that I know in the industry that's shy about sharing information. They love to talk about their work. They want to help young kids, next geners. So yeah, reach out to them. I mean, obviously, if you're going to send Bob Weiss a note, he may not get back to you. Okay, the guy's busy. But there's lots of people that you can talk to for information, and they're happy to help. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't feel like you're a stalker. Don't feel like you should be embarrassed. Hey, I'm going to be only in this industry for